welcome back to the Mike Will Experiment, episode number 7, coming to you from a new location, a new set. This is going to be our new set for a while. I tried to make this into a green screen. Unfortunately, I will be using this to display images, but unfortunately, I found out this green is not the correct green. So I'll either have to put up the correct green. You actually have to have an exact green. I just thought this wall was already green. It doesn't work that way, but still an upgrade for our previous set. But welcome to episode number 7. I'm here actually to share with you an interview that a friend of mine did, Anthony. He's a good friend of mine. I would say my best friend, somebody that's been through thick and thin. Definitely one of my best friends. I have a group. There's no one better friend. It's just one of my core group, I would say, of friends. And he's just a really good guy. We started working together, and just have always had a good time hanging out. And he's lived in Japan for, I think, like almost 15 years now, or between 10 and 15 years, and he's been there a long time. So he's kind of engrossed in the culture. So I wanted to talk to him about what his opinions were. I haven't been to Japan. I went to visit him in 2009, and we had a lot of fun. I went to visit him, but unfortunately, I haven't been back. So I wanted to know how things had kind of changed. So we asked him a couple of questions. Anthony, go ahead and introduce yourself.
So let me start out with a quick introduction. I've known Mike for a long time. We started working together at EB Games back in the day. We've worked on a website together. We've been gamers for quite a long time. As far as myself, I've been playing games and studying the industry since I was a kid. I actually did my graduate thesis on Nintendo, and I've been living in Japan since 2009, so a little over 10 years. So that's my background, and now I'll start getting into the questions.
Thanks for that, Anton. The viewers are really lucky to meet you. You're a really good guy. Thank you for doing this. As I alluded to in the introduction, my biggest curiosity is what has changed in Japan over the last 10 to 15 years in games.
So actually, like I said, I've been here for over 10 years. And how has the gaming industry changed? Well, the biggest thing is mobile. When I first arrived, I was surprised to see how many people were playing PSP or DS on the train, and now it's basically all cell phones. I'll occasionally see someone with a Switch or a portable gaming system, but basically everyone's playing on their phone. You can also see that at Tokyo Game Show. So I've gone to a couple of those. When I first went, there was a good amount of console games there, but now it's primarily mobile. So mobile is dominating these days compared to before. Another thing that's changed is the West has become the biggest market for the console side of games, the games that you play on your couch. This is actually a good thing because it's forcing smaller developers to localize their products for the US. So if you're in the US or Europe, you're getting more Japanese titles than ever before. I mean, when I was coming up, we'd have to beg Sony to bring out Arc the Lad 1, and now a game like that would come out in a heartbeat. So those are the changes that I've seen over the past 10 or so years.
Those are some really great points, actually. That reminds me of a conversation we had recently about Project Rainfall, which was, I don't have it in front of me, but Xenoblade Chronicles Last Story, and there's 3 games they brought over from Japan. And this was 10 years ago, and back then, which you were referencing, it was so much bigger time. It was a bigger deal back then. Now it's like we get all of the JRPGs, so I think that is a big difference in the last 10 years. Dragon Quest, aka Dragon Warrior, which is what his initial title in the U.S., that one is now popular here. So it's definitely changed a lot. Whereas, like you said, the West has become the primary market for some of these games, and it's really awesome to see because they're amazing games. Japan makes the best games. I mostly play Japanese games, so to be honest, they're amazing. But I was also curious about, what is the arcade experience like? Has that changed over the last 10 years?
Before I lived here, I actually visited Japan twice. My first trip was over 12 years ago, And the arcades, or game centers as we call them over here, haven't changed very much at all. If you're wondering what the experience is like, most of them are very clean and well organized. The big ones, they have different sections for different types of games. So the first floor might be like a crane game floor. Then you have racing games on another floor, maybe fighting games in the basement. So that's pretty cool. The smaller ones, they might specialize. So around Shinjuku, you can find some small niche arcades where you can just play old school fighting games for as much as you want. A great place to go play the Capcom classics as well. As far as the experience though, it's a lot less social than how it was in the States when we had arcade games back in the day. Back when I was coming up, you know, two people would share a cabinet, and you know, the arcade patrons would gather around someone playing Marvel vs. Capcom or Street Fighter. Here, every player has their own cabinet. You might not even see the person that you are fighting against. They're also net connected. So you might be playing Street Fighter against someone in another game center somewhere. So in summary, very clean, very well organized, but not a very social experience.
Well, that sounds very similar to the experience that I had when I was in Japan. I thought the arcade experience was fantastic when I was there. But yeah, it really hasn't changed much, it sounds like, which is awesome because, you know, we lost our arcades in the West. Places like GameWorks, those places aren't around anymore, so the fact that they're still there and it's still very similar to what I experienced is awesome. Now, I'm further curious about brands. In the US, brands and corporations are, you know, obviously important, and they are, you know, celebrated to some extent, but it's different in Japan. Brands such as Pokemon and other brands are celebrated. Could you explain that a little to us and kind of what it's like to have those brands around you?
Okay. So brands like Gundam and Pokemon, the biggest difference here compared to where I'm from is that these characters, these brands are institutions. So you can see right behind me, we've got the Gundam Cafe. You'll see Pikachu all over the place. I mean, you go in the train station, you'll see posters of him. There's a Pokemon train that will take you to some exotic location. So these characters, if they become popular, they don't go away. They become part of the culture, or at least the pop culture. So that's one big difference between here and the States.
That's some great information, Anton. Yeah, I had some experience with brands while I was in Japan. You know, I got to experience the gigantic Gundam. It's basically a, you know, 30-story high Gundam that actually works and plays music. And Japan is amazing. If you didn't already know how much I love Japan, Japan is a fantastic, amazing place. And these little, you know, Pokemon cafes, and they just add that much more. If you're a gamer, otaku, as they say, like myself, it just makes it that much more enchanting, you know, to visit Japan. Japan is just an amazing place. What else can I say? But I'm also curious about the rental culture there. We had a conversation about how you still find that renting DVDs is popular there. How does that go? And what about game rentals?
I wouldn't say DVD rentals are huge, but they're definitely the mainstream way to watch a movie as opposed to streaming. There are plenty of rental stores all throughout the city. They're not all disappearing like they have in the States. So it's just the main way to watch a movie, a Blu-ray, for example. And I love just walking down the street and going into the shop and getting a Blu-ray like I used to. That being said, there's plenty of streaming options. You've got Netflix and Hulu, and those are coming up. Even Tsutaya, which would be the Blockbuster equivalent, they started a streaming service. So they had the benefit of hindsight. They could see what happened to Blockbuster. Even though things aren't changing as fast here, they could see the writing on the wall, so they are offering a streaming service. As for games, it might surprise you, but game rentals are essentially banned. There's a law that says only the makers or the producers of the games can rent them out, not retail shops. So technically, you could rent games directly from Nintendo, but game companies almost never do that. So Game rentals are not a thing. You have to buy them new or used.
When people think about Japan, they think about different flavors of Kit Kats or maybe some wacky commercials or talk shows, but I want to know about the craziest promotional item that you've seen. What would that be?
Strangest game promotional item? That's a tough question, but with the internet these days, I'm sure all of you have seen the same strangest things that I have seen, which is probably something that comes in one of the deluxe editions of a Dead or Alive fighting game. That being said, one of the more interesting things that I picked up was a glass, a drinking glass, that was shaped and marked like a slime from Dragon Quest. And this glass, it wouldn't balance on its own, so when you filled it with liquid, it would look like a slime and kind of move like a slime. Picked that up at Shinjuku VR Zone, which was run by Namco Bandai. It's closed now, but there's one in Osaka. And you could probably get it on Amazon, but that's one of the cooler game-related items that I've picked up.
Huge Dragon Quest fan, so I'd have grabbed that. Kind of also useless, I suppose, at the same time, because if you can't set it down, what good is a cup? You have to hold it the whole time. That was what I gathered from what you said, so that sounds awkward. Definitely different. I will say that. Now, do you have any tips and tricks for gamers that may be looking to purchase games while they're in Japan, or any general info?
So what tips for buying games if you come to Japan? Well, the obvious answer is come here to Akihabara. With the tourism boom that's going on, Akihabara has embraced its role as the kind of game geek center of Tokyo. That being said, you're also going to have to fight the crowds. You might have to pay a little bit more. So if you're adventurous, you might want to consider looking for used game and memorabilia shops in places like Shinjuku or Nakano as well.
I just want to thank you so much for your time, Anthony. You're a wonderful friend of mine, and I treasure you a lot, and just want you to know that. I miss having you in the U.S., but it is awesome that you're in Japan too at the same time, because I feel like I can stay connected to Japan because I love Japan so much, and I can ask you about it, and you love it there, and you have a good life there. So very happy for your life there. We're always happy when you come visit us here, but not to get too mushy, but this has been episode number 7 of the Mike Will Experiment. Experiment along with me. Just a quick channel update at the end of this video. As you can see, we're back with a new set. I took a couple of months off, like a year off. I was moving. I don't really have a great set at home, so I'm using a different location for this. So the place that we moved, it's really small, and I just don't have a great set there. I will do some recording there, more vlog type stuff. It won't be a lot. It's really hard to get any good footage in that house. So I will release videos in bursts. I'm also going to be having more episodes coming. So there will be this episode, and then I am working also on the 8th episode that will be out. They'll release them in bursts. They'll come out back to back. I'm thinking 7, 8, 9 will come out back to back. The 9th one is going to be a retrospective on Game Breaker TV, which is basically the smaller, kind of just giving you some previews. Episode 9 is going to be basically 7 was this interview. 8 is going to be just an update of some recent gaming stuff that I'm doing, and then 9 is going to be a documentary essentially on Game Breaker TV. They were basically an IGN style site that I really enjoyed, and they just sort of had a tragic downfall, and were caught up just with sort of that second tech explosion that kind of happened, where a lot of companies started paring down podcasts, and there was a big boom for that, and then it kind of leveled out, and I think they got lost in that the fallout. But I do want to kind of go do a retrospective on the shows that they did offer, because I got a lot of hours of entertainment from them. So that's kind of a preview of what's to come, episodes 7, 8, and 9. Sure hope you enjoyed it. My name is Mike Will. Hope you have a wonderful day.